Welcome to the Scene Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Scene Podcast. I'm your host, theater content creator Justin Borak. Of course, we are an affiliate of the Scene newsletter. So if you love reading the Scene newsletter, but you also want something for your ears, you came to the right place. I don't know. That sounded weird coming out of my mouth, but I feel like it is a good representation of what this show is. The Scene newsletter, if it was written by a really goofy person and it was also exclusively set into your ear holes. So I hope you're enjoying it. I'm here joined by my wonderful friend and producer and editor and amazing person, KJ. KJ, how you doing today?
What's going on, Justin? At the time that we're recording this, we've got some new friends in different countries listening to the show. Shout out to our friends in Japan, Canada, and Iceland.
Yeah. KJ, yeah. Oh, I'm so excited for this episode. We, of course, have a shows you should know, a theater in a minute, and some wonderful rotating segments. So let's just get right to it. KJ, let's get to the first segment of this episode of the Scene Podcast.
Shows you should know.
All right, it's time for Shows You Should Know, the segment where I get to do my favorite thing in the whole friggin' world, tell you all about plays and musicals you might not have heard of but need to consume ASAP. Let's get started with three wonderful plays, actually two wonderful plays and a musical. Yeah, I'm doing a musical today, and I'm very excited about this musical. But let's start with a play that I recently found and read, and it's maybe one of my most favorite recent reads I've had in the last couple weeks. It's called Blown Youth by Deepika Guha. And let me tell you the story, okay? An aspiring actress and founder of a feminist commune, Celia, wants one thing: to play a great role. But despite her sophisticated education and commitment to helping women, Celia, like Hamlet before her, cannot act. Still, it seems her consciousness doesn't lie only inside herself. It seeds and sprouts amidst her 21st century kinships, her friends. Inspired by Shakespeare and set in the hazy post-college years, Blown Youth examines what happens to the universe when a woman is at its center. It's one of my favorite recent reads, seriously, and made me so interested to read all of Deepika's work, including multiple things on the Kilroy list. I had no idea about this playwright, and I've read a bunch of their stuff. I also read a play called Yoga Play that they wrote that is wonderful. It's about yoga and capitalism. Basically, Deepika is a playwright that I haven't heard of before, and I read Blown Youth, and I loved her work, and it's one of those things where I just ate up everything. It's so good. This play is really, really good for colleges, also for cool high schools, but there is some adult language, no set requirements, which is super nice, and it's a cast of 7 women. This is also a free read on Play Scripts, which I love Play Scripts, and that's not just me saying it because they publish my plays, Community Garden and Cabin Chronicles. They let you read any play you want on their website for free, which is so sick. So make sure you go read Blown Youth by Deepika Guha. Go check out her new Play Exchange. She has some great stuff up there. I love all of her work. Yes, Blown Youth. Okay. Next up is a musical, and I'm so sorry if I butchered these names, but I think I'm going to get it. But I need to talk about this musical because I listened to the album yesterday, and I'm losing my friggin' mind, okay? Lizzie the Musical by Stephen Cheslick DeMeyer, Alan Stevens Hewitt, and Tim Maynor. I believe that was correct. Okay, the story. In the heat of late summer 1892, Andrew Borden and his wife are found murdered in their house. The main suspect in the murders is Andrew's youngest daughter from a previous marriage, Lizzie Borden. Oh, I love the story of Lizzie Borden. Using a searing rock score and based in the historical record, Lizzie explores the heady and heated days leading up to the murder and Lizzie's controversial acquittal of all charges and the creation of a new American myth. Truly, I'm not kidding, one of my favorite musicals I've listened to so far. If you like horror, if you like rock, think musicals like American Idiot, Carrie. Carrie is a great... Dude, every single college in the world should be obligated to do Carrie and to do Lizzie every Halloween. It's just insane that you don't. It's so good. Changed my mind. Every college should be legally obligated to do Carrie and Lizzie every October. It should be a rule. There is some adult language, so obviously I don't think this could be a high school production. It could definitely be good for colleges, great for regional theaters. It's going to be such a good draw in the October months. It would be so good. But also, if you don't believe me, listen to the Spotify album and tell me 80% of those songs are not bangers, dude. They slap. I've been playing it in my car on repeat, and it's just wonderful. Lizzie the Musical, so good. Go check it out. And finally, another play that I have been loving is from maybe the most legendary high school playwright. Just a playwright in general. One of the most legendary, most produced playwrights in the world, Don Zalitis, came out with a new play, I think last year or maybe earlier in 2023. I'm not sure. But he came out with this play called The Bugs, and I love it. I read it for free on PlayScripts again. Boom. Okay, so the story. When a couple of disgruntled honeybees discover their habitat is going to be destroyed to make way for a swimming pool, there's only one thing for them to do: forge an alliance with the other bugs who live in the yard and stop it. With the help of a swashbuckling cockroach, a pessimistic pillbug, and a cicada who loves to party, can the honeybees do the impossible and ruin human construction plants? Or will they have to resort to asking their ancient enemies, the spiders, for help? What can a group of bugs do with their ecosystem is threatened? Oh my gosh, it's a hilarious satire about ecological disaster and labor issues with a smattering of Greek gods thrown in just like for fun. Dude, this is classic Don Zalitis. Every character has a moment in the sun. It is incredibly funny and of course perfect for every high school. I think Don Zalitis does a really wonderful thing when he wants to talk about something. Like this very much talks about the ecological disaster, environmentalism, and labor dispute issues, but he does it in a way that is so palatable and understanding that it makes it anyone in the audience will get what's going on. And it's a play that is written to be spoken about in the rehearsal room. It's not just a play to put up, it's a play to talk about all these different groups of bugs and how they all react. It makes me think of the Kopic Brothers play. It's an old propaganda piece from Czechoslovakia called The Insect Play. It's wonderful, go read it. But this gives a lot of similarities to it, and I love it. I love anything Don Zalitis does, and it, like I said before, is literally perfect for high schools. I think the first production of this is being produced at West High School in Waterloo, Iowa in early November 2023. So exciting. There are a bunch of productions on the way, which is also so exciting, and there's a reason for that. The show, incredibly flexible set, like usual, a runtime of 90 to 100 minutes, classic DZ, and anywhere from 20 to 40 actors. Dude, the show is perfect for any high school. If you are a school that wants to do something with a little bit of meat behind it, with a little bit of meaning, with maybe something you could have conversations about in the rehearsal room, while also having enough roles for everyone to feel like they have their moment in the sun, this is literally perfect. It's a perfect play. I love The Bugs by Don Zalitis, and I will go to my grave saying it is one of his best. This Game of Tiaras, oh gosh, I could go on forever. Don Zalitis has some freaking bangers, but The Bugs is right up there. The Bugs by Don Zalitis, Lizzie the Musical, and Blown Youth by Deepika Guha. 3 wonderful shows, 3 shows you need to know about. But now, let's get on to the next segment.
Theater in a minute.
That is right. It's time for Theater in a Minute, where I explain something from theater past, present, or future as quickly as my brain will let me. Today's topic is the one, the only William Shakespeare. So KJ, let's get right to it. Start the clock in 3, 2, 1. William Shakespeare, one of the most celebrated playwrights and poets of the English language, lived during the Elizabethan and Jacobean eras in England. Here's a brief overview of his life, okay? William Shakespeare was born on or around April 26, 1964 in Stratford-upon-Avon. His exact birth date isn't known, but it's traditionally celebrated on April 23rd, which is also the date of his death. Isn't that weird? He was the 3rd child of John Shakespeare, a glovemaker and prominent town figure, and Mary Arden, the daughter of a prosperous landowner. Little is known about his early education, but it's believed that he attended the local grammar school, the King's New School, in Stratford-upon-Avon, where he's from. In 1582, at the age of 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway. Not that Anne Hathaway. They had 3 children, Susanna, born in 1583, and twins, Hamnet and Judith, in 1585. I'm not joking. One of his children was named Hamnet. I wonder where he came up with the name Hamlet. By the 1580s or early 1590s, Shakespeare moved to London, where he began his career as an actor and a playwright. He became a shareholder in the Lord Chamberlain's Men, a successful acting company that later became the King's Men under the patronage of King James I. Shakespeare's literary career is marked by a prolific output of plays, sonnets, and poems. He's credited with writing 37 plays. That's 37 with a 3 and a 7, including the tragedies Hamlet, Othello, and Mackers, and comedies like Twelfth Night or Midsummer, and then historical plays like the Henry series or Richard III, right? Shakespeare and his fellow actors performed at the Globe Theatre, a famous open-air theatre in London that was co-owned by himself. Many of his plays were first performed there. After a successful career in the theatre, Shakespeare retired in Stratford-upon-Avon in 1613, where he lived the remainder of his life out. William Shakespeare died on April 23rd, weird, in 1666 in Stratford-upon-Avon at the age of 52. The exact cause of his death is unknown, but it's believed to have been on his 52nd birthday. I'm telling you, there's a conspiracy in there somewhere, okay? Shakespeare's works have had an enduring impact on the English literature and global literary canon. His plays and poetry continue to be studied and performed and adapted to this day, as we all know. His contributions to the English language include the creation of many new works and phrases. Shakespeare's life, though relatively short, left an incredible mark on the world of literature and the arts, and he's often regarded as one of the greatest writers in the history of the English language. Boom. Also, fun fact of the day, my favorite Shakespeare play is Troilus and Cressida and Much Ado About Nothing. I just thought I should say that. All right, next segment.
Have you subscribed to Broadway Book Club? Click the link in the show notes to see how you can get your favorite plays straight to your door. Subscribe annually to get new themes each quarter, or choose from our specialty curated collections. What are you waiting for? Head to the show notes for more information on Broadway Book Club.
All right, everybody, it's time for a new rotating segment that we're trying out today called That's Theater. But think of it as like the word that is like in italics and all caps, because this segment is about weird shows that I found that I did not know existed and I feel like the world needs to know about. So is it kind of similar to shows you should know? Yeah, but this is really, really weird stuff. Weird stuff that like me, a super big theater nerd, had to like research for hours to even figure out it existed. And then when I saw it existed, I was like, oh my gosh. Because today we're talking about a musical that I truly didn't know existed till recently, called Gone Missing by one of my favorite theater companies, The Civilians. Now, if you don't know The Civilians, they are a acclaimed, like a really wonderful New York-based theater company that primarily does stuff based on interviews or like really like immersive like creation process. Like they did a musical called Pretty Filthy about the porn industry in California, where they like actually interviewed adult film stars in the San Fernando Valley, and it's a brilliant musical, and it's smart. They also did Mr. Burns, the really famous Anne Washburn play that basically like she got a bunch of people into a room and had them try to recount a episode of The Simpsons, and then she made a apocalyptic play based on it's crazy. Mr. Burns, I think, is one of the most underrated plays in the world. And you need to read it. But this is like what they do. They make very weird, cool art, a lot of the time based on interviews or on immersive content, right? So this play, Gone Missing, it sounds so cool, okay? It's a wry and whimsical documentary musical of loss devised from real-life interviews from New Yorkers by the civilians. Okay, so this collection of very personal accounts of things gone missing, everything from keys, personal identification, and a Gucci pump to family heirlooms, your dog, and your mind, creates a unique tapestry of the ways in which we deal with loss in our lives. So they're looking at these interviews that they really had with these New Yorkers, and they're trying to sew this tapestry of a similar feeling of loss. It's a flexible company of 6 actors, 3 women and 3 men, that play 30 different roles. It's only 1 to 4 musicians. It's 1 act. It's 75 minutes. It's a short show. It's perfect. Literally, it is perfect for a like black box show. It's perfect if you're like trying to add like 1 more show to your season, but you don't have like a huge company, so you want to have a smaller cast for something. It's perfect if you want to do a musical, but you primarily do plays and you're worried about like, I know personally, the first scary thing I think about in musicals is music. You have to find a like competent band, you have to find a great music director, all that stuff. The great thing about this is that it's just wonderful. You can do it with just a piano. It's really, really simple. It's really, really cool. Gone Missing, I think, is like one of the coolest things ever. I've listened to a little bit of it, and here's the other thing. The music is written by Michael Friedman, which if you know Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, he is awesome. So it's very, very cool. Gone Missing by the Civilians is my like that's theater pick, because I love what the Civilians do with their like cool interview based theater content. It makes it feel so real, and as a hyper realism theater nerd, it makes me very, very happy. So Gone Missing by the Civilians, that's theater? Yes, it is. You can actually go read it for free and listen to it on the Broadway licensing website. So go check it out if you want to. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about it for a minute, because I was like, this is such a weird freaking piece of theater, and I needed the world to know. Gone Missing by the Civilians. KJ, let's keep this thing moving.
Pro Shot Pick'em.
All right, everybody, it's time for a new rotating segment, something I've never done before, but I'm so excited about. This is maybe one of my like favorite rotating segments we've thought of. It's called the Pro Shot Pick'em. Here's the thing. I know how much I love going to see theater, but even I, someone obsessed with doing it, it literally brings me so much joy to go see live theater. I don't get to do it very often. I also know that not all of us live in New York. I would argue a large majority of the people listening to this podcast probably don't live in New York and can't go see the newest show on Broadway every day. So what I've had to come to, which I think all of us have, especially like over COVID and how much streaming services got so important in people's like television and movie consuming lives, I started watching pro shots that are like now on all streaming services. And there are some amazing ones. Seriously, if you're a theater teacher and you want to like take the day off and show your kids a sick pro shot, they are out there. If you're someone who just loves enjoys watching musicals, but you live in the middle of nowhere and there's not a lot of theater around you, you can see original Broadway cast performing amazing shows, beautifully shot by very, very fancy streaming services. So what this segment is going to be for the future is I'm going to recommend 3 pro shots that I friggin' love. And this first episode, oh boy, is no different. This first segment, I guess, not episode. Whatever, doesn't matter. These 3 pro shots are some of my favorite. And this first one, I'm going to tell you, I watch it almost every month. And that's not I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not exaggerating. I swear to you, this is real. Romeo and Juliet on National Theater at Home. This production is amazing. First off, I cannot recommend National Theater at Home enough. It has such quality content on there, and it is brilliant and beautiful. And oh my gosh. Oh, National Theater at Home is so good. But the Romeo and Juliet is beautiful. So it was shot during COVID, and it starts as a read-through with the cast and then slowly escalates into full production and then goes back down to read-through. So you watch this cast walk into a black box or like a soundstage, whatever it is, and then you watch them start the play, and then they slowly start putting in costume pieces. You slowly start realizing that like behind the like false wall in this like quote unquote soundstage, there's actually like sets that have already been made. It is like so beautiful. It kind of feels like a one take the entire thing, but it's not, obviously. It's just gorgeous. It's amazing. And the reason they do it like that, they start it in that read through, is every character feels so grounded. It feels like you're watching these real actors, and it feels like you're watching a very human portrayal of this play that has been like mainstreamed into this like fantastical love story. That's like what R&J has kind of become for me. And this is a very earnest, good portrayal. It's like contemporary, but it stays really close to the source text, and it is just wonderful. It's also, I believe, it's 90 minutes. So if you have a class and you want to show your kids Shakespeare, or if you just want to watch Shakespeare and you're having trouble like adapting to it, which I had that a lot with this and with Chekhov and all that stuff, this is a wonderful production of Romeo and Juliet that I recommend to everybody. Romeo and Juliet on National Theater at Home. Next up, Come From Away on Apple Plus. Yo, this is maybe one of my favorite musicals ever made. Okay, it is based on the events in the Newfoundland town of Gander during the week following the September 11th attacks, right? 38 planes carrying about 7,000 passengers were ordered to land unexpectedly at Gander International Airport. And the characters in the musical are based on, and on a lot of the cases share the names of, a lot of Gander residents and stranded travelers who like were forced to like live in Gander for these few days and like be fed by these people. This is like, having 7,000 passengers at Gander International Airport is like 20 times the amount they usually have in a day. Like, they have no one. So it shows this town coming together after this you gotta argue international tragedy that happened, right? The Apple Plus Pro Shot of this show is a masterclass in pro shot musicals. I'm not kidding, and I will tell you why. One of my like biggest pet peeves when it comes to like pro shots of theater is when there's too many cuts, because in live theater there is no editing. You watch everything. So I love when a pro shot has big wide takes, doesn't have a lot of cuts, and it's just like this beautiful like soft thing that lets you watch the story. And that's exactly what Apple Plus does with this pro shot. I'm pretty sure it was done for PBS. No, this was done for Apple Plus, because the next one I'm going to talk about was PBS. But it was just beautiful. It's like, it's really, really wonderful. It's stunningly shot. And the show is such an intimate, like, musical. Like, the book of the show is so beautiful and so intimate. It translates to the silver screen really, really well. It's one of the best, like, live theater environments you see in a pro shot. And I love it. Come From Away on Apple Plus. Also Jen Colella. Jen Colella. Come on, dude. It's amazing. Come From Away, Apple Plus. Also like a big streaming service. Because the first one, National Theater at Home, very clearly theater streaming service. The next one I'm going to talk about, also a theater streaming service. But this one is a streaming service if you love Ted Lasso and if you love Mythic Quest and stuff like that. You also have this opportunity to watch Come From Away, beautifully shot. It's amazing. Also, most of the original cast. It's just so good. Come From Away on Apple Plus. The last one I want to talk about is Indecent on Broadway HD. It recounts the controversy surrounding the play God of Vengeance by Shalamash, which was produced on Broadway in 1923, and for which the producer and the cast were arrested and convicted on grounds of obscenity. Okay, Paula Vogel, writing, boom. Rebecca Teichman, directing, boom. This play, literally the original Broadway cast, the entire original Broadway cast, filmed on during the original Broadway run. This is perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. If you're a Jewish theater fan, which I am, if you're a Paula Vogel theater fan, that's me. Or if you just love good art, whoopsie daisy, that's also me too. This is like for you. The things I love about Indecent, other than being like a beautiful Jewish story, is it's, first off, brilliant use of music throughout the play. Not just like this production, but the show itself. But it shows how you can use music in a play while still being a like play in the center. But the most important thing for me, and this sounds very, very nitpicky, there's a lot of doubling in theater, right? I mean, I'm a playwright, and both the plays that I've written that are published by Playscripts, Community Garden and Cabin Chronicles, both of these plays have a massive amount of doubling in them. They can have a massive amount of doubling. And I know as teachers, as theater makers, as all that, we want to find ways to double. This show does it beautifully. Indecent on Broadway proves you don't need massive costumes. You don't need huge, crazy wigs. You don't need a massive budget to double. You just need to have characters that know who they are. Actors who know the characters they're playing every second of the play. And they do it beautifully on Broadway. It is gorgeous. This pro shot's amazing. There's a wonderful moment where there's a scene change, and one of the girls I think it's Katrina Link, is playing one character, and then she has to shift to like this American character, and there's just a quick scene change of the cast coming out and like dancing and singing, and it's just her dancing and turning, and she just like puts her hair down. That's it. It's literally it. She takes like a ribbon out of her hair and lets her hair go down, and that's the only change. But everyone's on board. No one's confused. It's perfect. So if you're doing a show with a lot of doubling, this is a great thing to watch, just to know how to direct something like that and how to like look at that, and to know that you don't need to put $1,000 million into costumes to have to double. Sometimes doubling can just be doubling for convenience or doubling for artistic. And it's beautiful. This segment is getting very long, but it's because I love all three of these shows. Indecent on Broadway HD. That's my last one. Come From Away, Apple Plus, and Romeo and Juliet, National Theater at Home. These three shows are beautiful. I hope you all watch them. And that was the Pro Shot Pick'em. Boom. And that is the episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Scene Podcast. If you want to read the Scene newsletter, it's dropping every single Saturday. Make sure you sign up on our website. My name is Justin Borak. You can follow me on Instagram at Justin Borak. Follow me on TikTok at Mediocre Jokes for more theater content. And thank you so much to the people at the Scene for letting us make this. Thank you to KJ, my producer and editor. KJ, you are the best human on the planet. I could not do this without you. And we will see you guys next week for another episode of The Scene. I'm going to sign out the way I sign out every episode, which is by talking like every student who just did their first scene in scene study class, okay? I just finished the scene. Picture me with like a black box standing up and looking at my teacher dead in the eye and saying, "And scene. Thank you so much. I really hope you liked it. I've been working really hard on my Chekhov." I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
The Scene podcast is made possible by our host Justin Borak, our producer and editor KJ Lampar, and our executive producer Zach Dooley.
Special thanks to Melissa Klein and Zoe Dick for their special contributions to this episode. Don't forget to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date with our latest theater antics. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you again next time.